I feel like life coaching chose me, not the other way around.
Thing that we carry with us, the understanding of success and failure, it comes from how we are brought up, and we are often told that it's a race and you have to win.
We have been so conditioned to feel and think as if life is a race or a competition. While it isn't, it's high time now the world is really evolving, especially after COVID. People are asking, like, why I'm here? What is my real life purpose? And is it all just about money? Is life all about this race? Or is there something more to life? It's not what you achieve at the end of it, rather, who do you become? That's the real trophy. The purpose of feelings is to feel them, not to think about them. It is not a measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And
Sometimes, if we just unlearn a little bit, we can make a big difference.
Welcome to Stories and Stanza. I'm your host, Opro. I'm a writer and I created this podcast to bring you a montage of real stories that make life beautiful as poetry. Today's episode is part of the Fail With Me series. I have had a few difficult years where I felt incredibly isolated. So when I came out of it, I wanted to create a supportive space to help those going through similar challenges. In a world that celebrates success and stigmatizes anything that doesn't fit that mold, Fail With Me aims to normalize and accept failure. I explored the concept of failure from various perspectives and challenge the notion that failing is something to be ashamed of. If we can truly unpack the layers of failure, we will find key to our healing. Please join me in welcoming today's guest. Thank you.
Hi, Saloni. Good afternoon, and welcome to Stories and Stanza. How are you doing today?
thank you, Abra. I'm really good. And thank you for inviting me.
I'm looking forward to our chat today. And you are a very special guest. You are a doctor and you turned life coach. And I'm sure we'll be enriched by your experience and your voice.
Thank
So, for our listeners and the audience, could you briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm a former gynecologist turned life coach. And it's been a long time, though it feels like my previous life now when I was working as a doctor. It's almost now 2 decades that I have been working in life coaching. And I work with leaders, CEOs, anybody who is a seeker to help them connect with their inner true nature and lead with a higher purpose in life. That's what I do right now. And it has been an amazing journey. And a lot of people ask me why I changed my career. So I would just like to share that as well. I think it was more of my soul calling. So I always knew that there is something else for me, which is my life's purpose. And I listened to that voice. So while I was working in London as a gynecologist and life coaching came my way. So I feel like life coaching chose me, not the other way around. I just felt like this was the right path. And I've never looked back when I changed my career. And I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you for coming to our podcast. And it's really amazing that how you described it. So you were in a different profession, which is also a very noble profession, and then from there, you turned to see your calling and started helping people in their journey. I personally feel that a lot of times we are in stages of life where we are clueless. We do not know how to navigate the challenges. So I think that life coaches are doing a wonderful job, and especially in today's world when life is so very complicated and we need that support system. And a lot of people don't have that support system, and which is when I think the role of a life coach becomes very critical. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you in your journey. So the first thing, I wanted to tell you is that this particular segment in my podcast, I call that Fail With Me. And it might strike someone who is not across the background that it's something negative, or what is that punchline about Fail With Me? Who says that? And the reason for choosing that title was I had a couple of difficult years, with me and my wife, and I was not sure what to do. And it took a couple of years to get to the other side of the tunnel, see the light in life. And then I felt that when you are going through a difficult time, often you are alone. You don't get to have that supportive voice. And then I was trying to find some comfort in self help books or articles and things like that. And what I found them that they were very preachy. They assume that you're doing this wrong. You've got your life on a very wrong path, and you have to do certain things to get it right. So you are a failure and you have to do these 100 steps to become success. And I am a hobbyist writer, and I had a problem with that narrative. So I thought that when I write my story, or when I share my journey with anyone, I'll call that Fail With Me, because it is in the failures of life I learned so many things, and I learned to know or understand who I am. So it kind of gave me my life's purpose. So that's how I chose the title Fail With Me. And uh, I started writing a little bit about it on my blogs. And when I started the podcast, I wanted to create a separate segment for Fail With Me. And irony is that it got very popular. And if you see my podcast, there are more Fail With Me episodes from guests from all over the world than there are other episodes. So I feel that that's a reward, and I feel that I am making a difference with the attempt of putting my voice out there. So that's the context of Fail With Me. Okay. And the first, you are a life coach. So I want to hear from you. How does that idea, the term Fail With Me, and what I explained sit with you? What do you feel about it?
I totally love it, Abra. And when I actually read about your podcast, it really intrigued me because in my life coaching, journey, my own personal journey, as well as with so many of the people I have coached over last many years, I see that the definition of failure and success is very limited, to be honest. And this is mostly the definition which we have been taught, which we have been told, like, okay, if things go the way you were expecting, the things, if exactly turn out the way you wanted them to turn out, then it's a success. Versus if the truth is, if things are not going the way I want or the way I expected, it will be considered a failure. While I always love to challenge this, that really the word failure itself, have we looked deeply enough? Because maybe there is something better for us. Maybe there is so much, as you said, to learn and evolve from that. So I give this analogy that, when we go to a party, how much we really learn and grow and evolve versus when you're going through a challenge, when you're going through a tough time, and then you are trying hard to work through it, under it, over it, understand yourself, or if somebody else is involved, or if it's a life challenge, a health challenge, you are trying to understand, you are trying to become more aware, more mindful, and grow through it. So yeah, I love Fail With Me because I think that's the short way to really grow and evolve, which I think is one of the highest life purpose, to keep evolving. It also helps us to stay in the journey, more and more in the process, connected with here and now, versus constantly looking for the outcome. It also really gives a lot of perspective. So I totally love this title.
Thank you so much. And I try to embrace these concepts, these challenges that I have encountered in my life. And when I see my daughter, I have a daughter who is about to be 12 in 2 months. So she's a very curious child, and she keeps flooding me with questions all day. And whenever I see that she comes across some obstacles and some challenges in her life, and I try to guide her in that space, and I see that, how my life was around around that by dealing with failures, and I tell her that it is absolutely okay if you fail at something. It is absolutely okay that if something doesn't turn out your way, because this thing that we carry with us, the understanding of success and failure, it comes from how we are brought up, and we are often told that it's a race and you have to win. And from there, I guess, the whole discussion about fail with me is building the emotional intelligence. You take a step back, you understand what the failure is trying to tell you, and then take the next step again, stronger than ever. So this is the context of fail with me. And of course, for those who are listening to the interview, this podcast for the first time, and I'll request everyone to go back and check the previous episodes and see the wonderful voice from people all over the world on this theme. Now, I want to ask from you that when you said this, that you can relate to this idea, is there a personal story you can share with our listeners today, where you think that you encountered failure, but you rebuilt yourself and moved on?
Yeah, absolutely all the time, I would say. But I would share a main personal story. Before that, I love what you said, Abra, about the race. And we have been so conditioned to feel and think as if life is a race or a competition, while it isn't. And a lot of my work is also around, I'm a huge advocate of that life is not about competing or, really just being in the rat race. Even though as a child, in school we were taught like you have to get good marks and then you have to go to college and then earn big money and then have a house and car. So it was kind of given to us, this is the way to a successful life, and we never challenged that. So I feel it's high time now. The world is really evolving, especially after COVID. People are asking, like, why I'm here? What is my real life purpose? And is it all just about money? So it's high time that we start to think about beyond what we have been told. So I loved, this as a reflective question. I would love to give to the listeners that really is life all about this race, or is there something more to life? So this brings to my personal story. So when I became a coach, I would say I was, I don't know, a lot of people tell me that I was very bold and courageous. I just feel I was somebody who just listened to my heart, and I was pretty naive and innocent. I never thought twice. So I knew that my heart is telling me that there is something else for me. I don't want to be a doctor for all of my life. I want to do something that my heart and soul's calling. And I straight away jumped into it, and I resigned from my job, very well paid job in a top hospital in London. And here I was without a single client. I didn't know how to get clients. Okay, I am qualified as a coach and I was a master NLP practitioner. I did my happiness coaching certification and I kept doing more and more things, learning more and more. It's a vast field, but I didn't know how to, establish myself as a coach, build my coaching practice. So it took me good many, I would say up to 5 to 7 years to learn the business skills, presentation skills, writing skills, speaking skills, all these things that would help people to see who I am, what I do as a coach. And during those years, it was pretty tough, let me tell you. There were many times when I felt like, oh my God, this isn't working. I was earning like very high level of money, and now I'm not even earning like a very basic. Like some months I would have one or two clients, and then few months there won't be any client. So there was a time when I was feeling like my husband was asking, "Is it really working? Do you really want to be, or do you want to go back? You are a gynecologist, and we and he told me like that we are actually looking for a gynec at a senior post." And there were so many times I would get, offers for brilliant jobs as a senior gynecologist in very reputed hospitals. But somewhere my heart knew that I am on the right path, because I think I was good at listening to the whispers of my spirit. And I just knew that, as I said, that it's not a failure, it's a process of me evolving. So I knew that if I'm not able to get the results, so I'm looking for a certain, amount of clients, a number of clients I want to have, certain amount of money I want to earn. I want to be a coach like this, or these kind of people I want to coach. I have to just keep going and learning and evolving and figure out, okay, if this is not working, let me try something different. So I think that was the approach I took, and many might call it a failure. Many people might call it like, oh, okay, so for many, many years, I did not succeed in building a successful coaching practice. But the more I did the inner work, the more I believe that I just need to trust myself. Of course, skill is one part of it. What I see, whether it's coaching or any kind of entrepreneurship or service, business, one part is skill, how good you are at your skill, but other part is also your own trust in yourself. And most of people lack here. Most of people start doubting themselves. Oh, maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe, I haven't got that. What it needs, to be a successful coach. So I think I just had this in completely indomitable, undeterred, unwavering, inconvincible kind of trust in myself, in life, and the universe, that if life has shown me the path, life is supporting me. I mean, I know I'm on the right path, because every time I would coach someone, I would be like so joyous. It was like I was be full of abundance and bliss that I am helping a person and making that impact. Like somebody's marriage is saved, someone's child is not speaking to them for years, and now because of my coaching, they're feeling better. Somebody's mental, emotional well-being is at stake, and because of my work, it's helping them. So I knew I am on the right path. What I need to do is just to keep going and keep figuring out. So the more I realize that it's not a failure, it's just, okay, I tried one thing, it didn't work. Let me try something different. And it's a process. And it's ultimately at the end of the day, if you are going through as a listener some kind of challenge, just remember one thing: it's not what you achieve at the end of it, rather, who do you become? That's the real trophy. Just remember, that's the real trophy, who you become as a person, because you have gone through about your unique challenge. It could be you're having a challenge with your marriage, with your, again, any other relationship, in your work, in your health. Like so many of my clients, I hear this people having a health challenge and saying that, oh, this cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. This accident was the best thing that ever happened to me. Oh, I lost my job, I was fired, and that was the best thing that happened to me. Why these people feel this way? Because they didn't take it as a failure, rather, they took it as a challenge and evolved and grew so much through it that it became a blessing ultimately. And that's how I feel about my personal journey.
It is very, very true, and I absolutely love how you explained it. I wanted to add something very interesting in the mix that I grew up and studied in India, and then I have traveled a fair bit before settling here in Australia. So, in Indian families, what I've noticed is like something is not working, then you apply the brute force at it. You're not understanding this. You have to study hard. You have to work hard to get to this point. Whereas what we are not taught or explained that if something is not working, just pivot. Keep your direction the same, the goals the same, but how you approach the problem, change it. And I think which is a very crucial skill that we miss in life. That we learn that through failures and mistakes. That every time the brute force algorithm doesn't work, you have to pivot. You have to keep adapting yourself as per the situation to see where you want yourself to be. So,
I Agree with you. I fully agree with you. This is such a wonderful point to pivot. So if this not working, it doesn't mean that my desire or my purpose is wrong. It just means, okay, maybe I have to look in a different direction. Maybe I have to try something different, a different approach, or go inside and find out the answers. Like, what am I missing here? And we get to know so much about ourselves. I think it's kind of a journey of self-discovery. When you go through a challenge, if you take it as a self discovery and be curious about it, there is so much to learn.
For our listeners, uh, I wanted to like establish a baseline, and can you tell us like what is life coaching to you? What do
Mhm.
you see as a part of life coaching, and why we need life coaching in today's day and age? Why it's getting more and more important for those who are not across the term life coaching?
Sure. So, what happens is that the way we all live our life, Abra, I'm going to make it really simple for people to understand. The way we live our life, we are only living as per our identity, as per our personality, which was formed according to psychology by the age you were almost, you're 5. Your identity is actually formed from 0 to 5. Your belief system, how you see the world, the way you saw your parents, your teachers, or world around you. A lot of your identity is formed, and it's completely done by the age 9. So they say a lot of it is almost 80% is done by 5, and little bit which is left is done by the age you're 9. Now imagine as an adult, a lot of time we are reacting to certain triggers, the way we are responding in our relationships, the way we are responding to difficulties at work, we are doing from the conditioning of that 9 year old or 5 year old. And we don't know any different way because nobody has shown us the mirror. Like, wait, pause. What are you doing here? And why are you doing it this way? How can you take a different approach? So, life coach is like that mirror who just throw light on your conditioning. Okay, maybe this is the reason you always react when somebody is controlling or demanding, because maybe this is the way you were conditioned. Maybe your parents were like that. Maybe you were never given, uh, you know, uh, confidence or that opportunity to just speak for yourself, or that space to that people will listen to you. So whatever has happened in our childhood, most of the time we are operating from that space. Again, as I said, the way you see yourself, the people behave the way their self-image is. So for example, I'll give you a simple example. If one of the leader I was coaching, and he said that suddenly he started to feel very fearful of public speaking, and he had to go and present to, it was a multinational company he was working, and he had to present in front of the directors of all different countries. It was a conference, and he's like, I'm just having these butterflies, not just butterflies, but I'm just completely feel I'm gonna fail. I will not be able to perform. And then looking back, when we start to kind of peel the layers, dig deeper, what was happening, it was coming from a past experience of a childhood. And a lot of time we don't have to do a lot about that childhood experience. Just in one conversation, one simple healing process, they can make peace with it, and also learn how to navigate the challenge from now onwards. But if people start to work only through their identity, only through an image, like, oh, I'm someone, I cannot speak in front of a lot of people. For example, if somebody has this belief, or I'm an introvert, I find it hard to network with people, then they're always operating from that belief system. So as a life coach, what I do is I gently, lovingly shake their belief system. Is that true? So we do a lot of gentle challenging their belief system. What if the opposite is true? Where you might be operating differently? What would happen if you go out of your comfort zone and do this? Even if it means that you might fail, what is the worst can happen, as we're talking about failure? So that is a question I would ask a lot of time my clients. So what if you fail? What is the worst? And they said, "Mm, yeah, nothing will happen. Nobody's gonna die." So we don't realize, like, so many times in our lives, we are operating from fear. So many times. So leaders, when I work with them, they are operating, they're making decisions out of fear. So this is what life coaching does. I know I've given a big elaborate answer, but a lot of different areas we tap into: how to handle your thoughts, your mind, your doubts, self-criticism, decision making, how to process your emotions, and then spiritual as well. Some people are open for self-realization, self-actualization. What is my higher purpose in life? What am I doing here? Can I lead with my higher purpose and higher level of consciousness? So, depending upon where a person is, as a life coach, I walk with them and we keep going to the next level as per their readiness and willingness to go.
That's really amazing how you explained it. And I want to link what you said to something I have experienced as well. That and it kind of relates to the expectations of success and failure. So both are kind of related. What I feel is how we are always taught that it's a race and you have to succeed and you have to, yeah, we build all this self targets that, oh, you have to achieve this, you have to achieve that. And I think that fear, or in a lot of cases, comes with that conditioning. That I'll give a very a personal example. Okay, that my father, he passed away, but he was afraid of driving. I have never seen him drive. He drove once or twice before I was born, but I have never seen him drive. And when I was in the university and I wanted to drive, and my dad said, "No, you cannot. You are going to meet with an accident." And I said, "Can I drive a bike?" "No, you cannot. You are going to meet with an accident." And uh, later, when I started driving, I actually made an accident. Okay, I crashed the car somewhere. And then I realized that it's a fear that I have inherited. It's not my own fear. It's something that I think it is part of my conditioning. My dad always used to say, you are always thinking something, and you'll think that, and you'll drive, and you can make a mistake. Cut to years later, when my daughter was born, and she said that, "Dad, you have to drive." And I said, "I don't know whether I'll be able to." And she said, "Yeah, you'll be able to. This is nothing to be afraid of. You have to take me to school every day." Like, it's a couple of years ago, but she said, "You have to take me to school." And I said, "What if I make a mistake?" And she said, "No, you have to." And then I started taking her to school, and I realized there's nothing to be afraid of. So that fear was a part of my conditioning, in the same way how I used to perceive success and failure. So, do you feel that way, that you are working with people, that where is that fear rooted? Where is that apprehension uh, hidden, and how to unpack that?
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, and I'm glad you took the plunge, Abra, and overcame that fear, saw that fear. So I'll go back to, when we are born. This is a scientific fact. They say that a baby is born only with one fear, fear of falling. That's it. This is like inbuilt fear, which is like a survival instinct. Like babies on the edge of a bed or somewhere might have fear. I don't know whether they have, but this is what science says. There is no other fear we are born with. So a baby, if you put a baby in water, baby can actually swim. Babies are naturally gonna move hands and feet, and baby will just float on the water. That's the truth. But what happens when we grow up? And a lot of people are fear of water. A lot of people are fear of, public speaking. So according to psychology, every single fear we have, none of them is inborn. Every single fear is inbuilt, and not inbuilt but conditioned into us through our society. It could be parents, it could be teachers, it could be friends, it could be somewhere we have heard. Maybe we have a bad experience, like a common experience people have as a child. They were made fun of about something. Let's say they forgot something on stage, and then they start fearing, oh, What if I forget? What if people laugh at me, mock at me? So this is how the fears begin. Like in your case, you mentioned your father telling you, okay, being fearful, and that fear was instilled in you very subconsciously. So we are not doing it consciously at all. It's like when a child is young, so till especially very young children, like between, as I said, 0 to 9, their mind is so fragile and so like a sponge. They just absorb everything which has been given to them. And during that age, when if something uncomfortable happen, if something which makes them feel unsafe, they start a coping mechanism. So people laugh at me when I speak much, so I will not speak. People don't like me if I am loud, so I will not be loud. So we start to build our personality, and there are a lot of fears because a child wants to be safe. Child wants to be safe. Safety is an important human need. And because of that safety need, we keep building all this belief system. And ultimately, somewhere, I think it's one belief which is in every human being, almost every human being, I would say, because I have never met somebody who would say, no, I never felt this way. I am not enough in some way. Maybe I'm not enough in this particular field as a mother, as a father, as a professional. Somewhere we feel that, yeah, I'm not doing enough or I'm not being enough. Very common. Again, this is a conditioning. It came from our well wishers, our parents, who of course loved us, but somewhere they wanted us to improve. So they kept telling us, oh, you can do this better. If you do this, then it will be even better. So, which made us feel this fear that I am not good enough. So I see this a lot in my coaching practice, a lot of, belief changing and belief shaking and transformation happen in coaching. A lot of the work is based on that because once that is shifted, a person can just fly. They're literally, uninhibited. They just tap into their potential, and so much more opens up for them. So much more. The confidence really soars. So looking into this is so important. One more thing I would add here is people's relationship with money, because I work around that a lot when I'm working with entrepreneurs. They don't realize, like, we have been told certain things as a child. For example, a lot of people have been, children have been told, oh, money doesn't grow on trees, or money is the root of evil. So they start to feel this negative connection with money, where they want to earn money, but they also kind of, despise, very rich, wealthy people. So this stops them from feeling abundant. This stops them from earning money with ease. A lot of people believe, oh, I need to work very hard in order to be successful. For example, this is a common belief. And I remember a friend of mine just telling me that his son is not working hard, not working hard. And I'm like, okay, he's trying his best. Why do you want to, really want him to work hard? And he said, because I fear he will never succeed if he doesn't work hard, because he was conditioned like this from his parents. So yeah, these conditionings play a lot of role in limiting us. Mostly they are limiting. Yeah.
That is so very true. And I have noticed this, like when in my life and when I am talking to the guests on my show, and a lot of people are working on this conditioning and breaking away from that. And I I want to go into self awareness and wholesomeness that you mentioned. Before that, I have to share this, and it's a very important aspect of this podcast is talking about emotional intelligence. So I felt I had a very life changing experience from one of the coaches I attended recent times. It was about anger and anxiety management. And I often felt troubled by my anger. And I was told from by my parents that it's a physiological condition, that that there are certain things because of which I tend to get angry, and I accepted that for a very long time, and I thought that there's probably no second way about it. There is no other way to avoid the anger. It is coming because of my structure my body, whatever. Okay. And then I became more and more aware of emotional intelligence, that, and it doesn't have to be anger, it has to be about, I'm talking about any negative feelings that we get through. And we often react, that, somebody humiliates me, I react, somebody attacks me and I react, somebody says something bad, I react. So in that process of reacting, I'm giving my brain an adrenaline rush, something like a cocktail, an emotional cocktail that my brain gets hooked onto and thinks that this is the way to go about it. But if I give my brain an alternate path, like something is said, I'm upset, and I keep my feelings to myself and just do not react. And if I practice that gradually, it starts building an alternate neural pathway in our mind and we heal. So the coping mechanism gradually changes to a healing mechanism, that we are doing something to compensate. Yeah, I'm not just talking about anger. I'm just generalizing that we know, because you mentioned that the coping methods people follow, and then you have to challenge them and you have to show them the alternative as a life coach. And I wanted to hear your thinking, your experience around that.
I would love to share something here, Abra, what you just mentioned. That's very interesting what you said. Though there is a caution, I would ask, listeners, when it comes to emotional intelligence, extremely important. So, not if you're feeling anger or reaction, not to express it in a negative way. That's a wonderful thing. Yes, you don't lash out on other people. You don't start yelling or reacting in a rude manner to hurt people. And if you can just take a deep breath and, as you said, just kind of redirect your emotion to understand yourself, that's a wonderful thing. Though the caution here is not to suppress that emotion. Because why I'm saying that, because this is a very, very common practice people do in name of sometimes emotional intelligence, or in name of, oh, I don't want to be angry. I don't want to, show my expression and in an unhealthy way. If you start to suppress it, what will happen is, first and foremost, it is going to impact your emotional, mental, physical health big time. And it will come out anyway. You will suppress it once, twice, five times. The next time it's going to blast, and it will be out of proportion. This is a very common thing which I hear from people. So, the very first thing is to recognize two things actually. The purpose of feelings is to feel them, not to think about them. So when I talk about emotional healing, I tell people the moment an emotion comes to you, for example, right now, all the listeners, and you can think of that, Abra, think of the time when you got angry, and bring to your mind a situation where you got angry, and think, where in my body am I feeling it? Rather than thinking, or do I express it, or what do I do with it, just drop down from your mind to your body, because emotion happen in your body, not in the mind. So thoughts come to your mind, and the body reacts to that thought in form of sensations because of the chemicals that are running because of that thought, and you feel it in your body. The moment you ask yourself this question, where in my body am I feeling it, you will instantly feel it. It usually is in the chest, heart chakra. It could be in the forehead, head, or it could be in your belly. It could be anywhere, shoulders if you're stressed out, neck, anywhere it could be. And if you put complete awareness and just breathe into that part where you're feeling it, you will notice that you will allow the emotion to dissipate in your body. Now, what you're doing is you're not resisting the emotion, because what you resist persists. And that's why suppression doesn't help. When we suppress it, it will
Yeah.
escalate. So when you feel it, then it will start to dissolve. The second thing is, emotions are actually our internal guidance system. It's like literally that GPS we have been given. What does it guide to? It is guiding to, anytime you're angry, I want you to think, something has gone wrong in my thinking. Yes. Something has gone wrong in my thinking, which is causing me this anger. So become aware of your thinking. Why wrong? Because if you are not thinking, think of a time when you are just pure joy, bliss, happy. And I ask this to a lot of people, and they say, oh, yeah, when my child was born, or when I was in the mountains, when I was at the beach, or I was just sitting in maybe at a temple or somewhere, I was just very peaceful. And I asked them, were you thinking something in that moment? And they would be like, no, there was no thought. So, in truth, our innate nature is peace. If we are not thinking anything, we are at peace because that's soul's nature. It's very natural. In the Vedas and Upanishads, which is scriptures, Indian scriptures, they say that soul's true nature is Sat Chit Anand, which means pure consciousness and bliss. That's your true nature. So, anytime you are having an experience of anger, which is very natural, but that doesn't mean it's your true nature. That only means you're having this emotion because something you have thought. And you can test it. Don't believe me. You can test it yourself. Next time you are feeling anger,
Yeah.
think of what is the thought before I felt this. And then you can challenge that thought. The way what we do in coaching is always just challenging that thought. Is it true? Why do I expect this? So my, let's say my spouse is not listening to me. So, who says that your spouse should listen to you? Do you listen to your spouse always? Maybe something is going on for them. So, you can expect, you can even, tell your expectation to your partner or whoever it is, but you will come to a new perspective that, oh, yes, people might not have the capability to fulfill my expectation. If somebody, for example, is not a good listener, can I expect them to listen to me? Of course, no. So that will help you understand, oh, I'm feeling angry because I want them to listen, but maybe they don't have the skill of listening. So there's a mismatch, and you might bring your expectation down that, oh, okay, they are doing their best with the capability they have. And that might naturally bring your anger down. Yeah. So these are two important things to think. Feel the feelings in your body and challenge the thought that is creating the emotion. That will help.
That is very, very beautifully said. And very, and I want to mention one interesting observation there. Uh, these concepts of emotional intelligence, mindfulness, and self awareness, the way these terms are coined in today's world, or how the West is discovering that, a lot of those roots are hidden in Indian scriptures. In a way, if you know where to navigate, where to look at, you the reference that you mentioned, Satchidanand, so that I think is I think it was one of the pen names for Swami Vivekananda as well. I That's where I first came across the name. So I find it very interesting that we have these roots in our history. It's just that we are not aware of it in many occasions. In self awareness spectrum, and what you mentioned is about connecting with people, communicating with people. I think in today's corporate world, that's a lesson often missed out. That's something a lot of people could be benefited with, those ideas, that how you communicate. And if you detach yourself from the expectation that everyone would understand and be on the same page with you, instead, if you take the step back and you try to connect with people, that you'll probably be a better speaker or better presenter in that area. And
Absolutely.
when you work with people in the self awareness space, what are the things that you realize people have got it wrong? Where are the misconceptions that we should look at, broadly speaking?
Mhm. So, one of the first thing that I talk about is this model I use a lot of time. Actually, uprise facts versus fluff or story. So, a lot of time we feel hurt or we have expectations because we have a certain story. And the story says, my partner should do this. my team member should be behaving like this, or my child should listen to me, or the world should be like this. And it's about really challenging again the story and adhering to the fact, okay, this is how my child is. Yeah, they have their own mind, they have their own thinking, and they have all the right to think the way they want to think. And why should they listen to me? For example, this is a common one, that's why I'm using it. So when when we start to notice all these ideas which we have kind of preconceived, these are preconceived, presumed ideas at how this is how the world should be, and we never challenge that. Like the idea of success, that's how success should be, the job, and then keep going up the corporate ladder and keep earning money and do give your all, even though you're ignoring your health, maybe your hobbies, maybe other spiritual desires, and just keep going because this is how the whole world is behaving. But we never stop to challenge. So I had written this handbook, in COVID lockdown. I wrote this book, How to Stop Overthinking in 3 minutes. The idea came from because I noticed that a lot of people I was coaching in the last few years were coming to me because they were overthinking. And then we say that, oh, yes, overthinking is just so common. The whole fabric of our society, it's like everybody is doing it. And then I came across this quote that I, use in my book is from Jiddu Krishnamurti, a very, pronounced, profound spiritual master. And he said, it is not a measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. And I think that's what conditioning is. We think because everybody is doing it, so that's the right thing to do. And we never stopped and paused to think like, oh, is my definition of success also same? Okay, maybe my parents think this way, but what is it that I feel I will be success? And I started to think that for myself in my own journey, and that I challenged my clients. I tell them that what is your definition of success? Not what your mentors or coach or teachers or parents told you, society is showing you, or everybody, in social media is looking for followers or likes. What that seems like success. What is true success to you? Would you like to go inside, look within, and find that? And so many times they come back and say, you know what? Just being fully present when my wife or my husband or my daughter or my son is talking to me, that feels like success because I realize I wasn't present. Now, this is something which is coming from that person within them. And then we work around that. Okay, how can you make that happen for you? Because that makes them feel like, wow, I'm growing. And I remember one of my coaches said that, and he's a very successful leader, again from external, markers. And he said, like my daughter, who's an adolescent, and she's always complaining that I don't listen. And he came to me and he said that this is what I want to work upon. I want to be a good father. I want to be a father who listens. My daughter, who is now become almost becoming an adult, she feels she can share things with me, and I am there for her without judging and without reacting, because he realized the reason she is not sharing her challenges because she feels that my dad is going to judge me or react to this. I can't share. So that was success for him. So this is how conditioning works. We don't really challenge it, and that's when we start to challenge, we come to an awareness level. What is it that I think? Where are my strengths? Where are my weaknesses? What is it I truly desire and I want to work upon? So that's where self-awareness begins.
It's very beautifully said. And I think we are coming towards the end of our discussion. But I want to take one more question from in the self awareness spectrum, and because you touched upon it briefly as well. So, in today's day and age, the gender roles are changing, and a lot of cases I notice, and from my friends and speakers and all that, the relationship area is strained because it is changing, it's evolving, gender roles are changing. Then how do we apply the self-awareness in the relationship space so that we have harmony and peace?
Such a beautiful question. I love that. And it's so true. It's so true. I see that all the time that people are successful in work, in financial areas, but the relationships are really strained. It's so surprising. I was talking to a friend of mine, and she mentioned like she has recently been promoted and made a vice president in a company. And she said that she was talking to other two, vice president who were in different countries, and while they're having conversations, they mentioned that both of them are going through separation. And she was really shocked. Like, and she heard so many senior leaders that they're having difficulty in their marriages. So it's extremely common. And especially in sectors like IT, which are more stressful, it's even more common. So, self awareness, how it helps. And gender roles, of course, you mentioned it's a big role to play here because it's shifting very fast, very fast. Now, women are working, women are doing all different kinds of work, and men are also becoming so much more adjusting to the new shift. So, there are a lot of men who haven't seen their mothers working or who haven't seen contributing to the household chores, for example, something very simple, but now they're doing it because they want to build a harmonious environment in the home. They also want to support their partners in their desires and dreams. So it begins with this self-awareness. What is my intention here? What is my highest intention? I ask people to just start with one simple question. If you every morning think, what is my intention? Highest intention in my relationship with my spouse, in my relationship with my child, in my relationship with my boss or my team member, any relationship for that matter, and then you let that intention lead. So, for example, if you feel there is a conflict happening between you and your spouse, if you remind, my intention is to have harmony, not to prove that I am right, you will naturally calm down. You will figure out, you will try to figure out, okay, how can we come to a consensus? How can I listen more, understand more before I try my best to make them understand me? So rather than seeking to be understood, we will start to listen and understand the other person more. That's what the intention does. And it's not once you set intention and your whole, married life will be, sailing smoothly. That's why I said daily intention. What is that one thing I can do for my partner that will make them feel that they are my priority? That is one common complaint partners have, like, I'm not my partner's priority, maybe the work is, maybe something else is. How can I make them feel they're important? How can I make them feel they're special? How can I make them feel loved and supported? What is one area maybe? And I'll give you a clue. The clue is always so obvious, like in a murder
Yes.
mystery, clues are very obvious. Listen to the complaints of your partner. And if it's your relationship with your child, listen to their complaint. If they say that, you don't listen, the truth is there is a grain of truth. There is something there if they're saying it. Notice, oh, you're always late. Maybe there's a grain of truth. Or you're not planning any dates or holidays. Maybe there's a grain of truth. And they're giving you hints for something they're expecting. Again, if you can do that, work on that, bring awareness. How can you work on that? How can you build that? Sometimes partners say, oh, my partner is not very empathic. I'm going through this, but they're not even concerned. They're not showing empathy. If your partner has ever said this, you can read about how to be more empathic to your partner. I'm sure there will be a number of videos now. Google and YouTube is giving everything. You can learn it. It's like a skill. You can be more compassionate, kind, empathic to your family members, and you can win hearts to that. Similarly, any kind of conflict you're going through, any kind of complaints they do, you can, become aware how to improve on that. And if you feel you can't, if you feel you cannot fulfill their expectation, then have a heart-to-heart conversation. Like, I'm really trying, or I did my best, and I'm learning and evolving, and right now I'm not there. So I remember once my daughter told me, Mom, you constantly advising and you're not holding space for me. I said, yeah, you're right. And I'm learning. and I'm learning. So we made it like a pact, like whenever we do something wrong, we will remind other person, yes, I'm trying and I'm learning. It doesn't mean I'm a coach that I'm going to be 100% there, but I can promise that I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm trying to do better every day. And that's a win-win. Yeah.
That is absolutely true. In the whole idea behind fail with me is that, sometimes we may need to unlearn. We are so set in our ideas that sometimes if we just unlearn a little bit, we can make a big difference.
All the time. I would say not sometime, all the time we need to align and
Thank you.
allow. Mm.
Thank you for coming to Stories and Stanza and sharing your wonderful voice and experience. Just to finish the discussion, would you work with people geographically outside India, or are you working only in your locality?
No, no, I'm working globally. Abra and other most of my clients are in many different countries, US, UK, Australia, or many, many different countries. Since COVID, especially, almost all my work is online on Zoom. So yeah, I work with people all over the world. Yes, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Wonderful. So, someone listening to this interview or watching this discussion on YouTube, I hope they get a very good idea of what life coaching is and how to navigate some of the challenges in our lives. And uh, I will put your details in the episode description in both audio podcasts and videos so that someone listening to the interview can reach out if they need to. And thank
Thank
you
you
once
so
again for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you so much, Abra. And just as we are wrapping up, I would love to mention that I'm also launching my podcast on spirituality and leadership next month. So I would share the link with you as well for that.
Absolutely. And I always love to connect with fellow podcasters. There's because I write poetry and I feel that the more connections I make, there is a learning there, there is a takeaway there. And when and if you have we have already recorded today's episode, and I have made such wonderful connections all over the world through my podcast, and I talk to creators and speakers, and I can say that it has evolved me as a person, enriched my experience. So I will look forward to hearing from you, and yeah, maybe in future we'll get a chance to collaborate again.
Yeah, sure. It was a pleasure talking to you, Abra. It was very nice. Thank you so much. And yeah, we will stay connected.